Pixel art will always have an inherently retro aesthetic. Because of this, people will have a nostalgic feeling towards most pixel art games. That's just how it is. Even though it is considered retro, that doesn't stop people from trying to modernize it. And this is my way of doing so. Sometimes being modern is a mix of older ideas that together are just enough for it to be considered something new. It's pretty much exactly what I did here. The game is very clearly still pixel art. I don't think anyone could disagree with that. But then, it's mixed with a little bit of realism, enough to make the game look modern and unique. To achieve this though, I had to give up on something important. Pixel perfection. This component aligns pixel art in such a way that the art remains crisp at all times. It's an incredibly useful tool, and it would usually be my go-to component when thinking about working with pixel art. Why did I give it up though? Well, the reasons kind of fall into two scenarios. Things that are harder with a pixel perfect camera, and things that are just straight up impossible. I'll explain what I mean with every step, but I think it would make more sense if I go through every single change, starting from the front, and work my way back. And the first thing is a foreground parallax. If using a pixel perfect camera, you'd have to code this in, which is not too hard, but still. It requires a bit of work, so I'll put this under the needs work category. Only by a little bit though. The way you'd go about coding it in is adding another layer on top of the game layer, making it render in front of everything else, and then slowly move it in the opposite direction of where the player is heading. However, with a perspective camera, as long as you move the new layer closer to the camera, it will render the effect for you. It just makes it so much easier to visualize. Moving further in, we reach the character. If you've seen the previous videos, the difference is pretty noticeable. I've taken some inspiration here from a YouTuber called Aarthificial. The main character art is actually pretty similar, so I thought I could apply some of the ideas from his game into mine. For one, the character's direction. His character actually faces forward instead of towards the camera, which if you think about it makes a lot of sense, because her world is only this, a 2D graph. Why would she face this way? The other thing is a slight rotation when moving. It's a really neat touch, so I tried implementing it, and this is the result. On a side note, she can finally walk now, so she isn't just running around like some lunatic. The whole rotation thing wouldn't really be possible if using a pixel perfect camera only, because it would distort the shape into something similar to this. And I promise you, nobody wants to see whatever the hell this is. Anyway, that's about it for Amari. She still has her signature ability of transforming into a bird, but I'm in the process of adding the other half of her always available kit. But now let's move on to the background. This was inspired by Hollow Knight, and although that game isn't pixel art, I thought it could be a nice way to bridge the gap between pixel art and normal art. I think it fits quite nicely with what I have now. The way I achieved this effect was actually using two cameras instead of one. One renders the background, then blurs it, and the other is an overlay camera that renders everything in front, and then adds post-processing. This isn't exactly revolutionary, but it is a refreshing take on pixel art. This would be pretty impossible to do if using a pixel perfect camera. A good blur requires delta pixels, which is the complete opposite goal of a retro camera. That marks the end of the changes. If that sounded like I was vouching for not using a pixel perfect camera though, there's something you need to know. I've actually been lying to you the whole time. When I called things impossible, what I really meant was impossible if using only one camera for a specific layer. In reality, everything I mentioned in this video is possible with pixel perfection, as long as you're willing to use a lot of cameras. I won't go into too much detail, but to show you what I mean, I'll use the example for the blur. You could have a camera render the background, make it render in pixel perfection, then make it send the render to a separate perspective camera, make this camera render behind everything else, then finally add post-processing. This wouldn't be the only time you'd have to follow a similar process either. You see what I'm getting at here? The problem isn't really if it's possible, but rather is it actually worth it. The thing is, I know myself pretty well, and I know that I'm the kind of person to take shortcuts wherever possible. If this costs me later, so be it. I'll fix it then. But for now there are more pressing matters, such as getting this video out. God damn! Anyway, that's all I had to say, so I'll see you later.